All right, let's start with some breaking inputs which have just come in, where according to reports, North Korean leader Kim Jong Un has finally arrived in Singapore for the big meeting with US President Donald Trump. The Foreign Minister of Singapore, WION Balakrishnan, has tweeted a picture of him welcoming the North Korean leader at the Changi airport. Now, there was unprecedented security at the airport ahead of his arrival. No other plane flew from the normally very busy airport before the Boeing jet carrying Kim arrived at the airport. Reports also indicate that China was in fact controlling the air traffic at the time to maximize security for the North Korean leader. So this is the big breaking inputs which have just come in, where Kim Jong Un, the North Korean leader, has now arrived in Singapore. Now, this is an image that has been tweeted by Singapore's foreign minister, where he has said that this is an image of him greeting the North Korean leader as soon as he landed at the Changi airport in Singapore. The foreign minister of Singapore, WION Balakrishnan, has tweeted this image. All right, now the big story this morning, where the world's top 7 industrialized nations have ended their summit in Canada amidst bickering over tariffs and trade. The G7 summit has concluded with all leaders turning up against US President Donald Trump. And also in some breaking inputs which have just come in from Singapore, where Kim Jong Un has now reached Singapore. Remember, this of course is the big meeting that is expected. This will take place on the 12th of this month, that is day after tomorrow. And Donald Trump is also expected to land in Singapore sometime at about 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time. However, Kim Jong Un has already arrived. It was a special Boeing flight, something that is used predominantly by the Chinese officials, that flew Kim Jong Un from Pyongyang and has brought him to Singapore. And also we are given to understand that he was received by the foreign minister of Singapore. And this is the image that has been tweeted by the foreign minister of Singapore, WION Balakrishnan, who has put out this picture of him welcoming the North Korean leader at the Changi airport. Now, there was unprecedented security at the airport ahead of his arrival. No other plane, we are given to understand, had flown from the normally busy airport before the Boeing jet carrying Kim arrived at the airport. And reports also state that it was China that was controlling the air traffic at the time to maximize security for the North Korean leader. All right, now for more on this, we are joined in by our international affairs correspondent Ramesh Ramachandran, who's presently in Singapore and is tracking all the developments very closely for us. Good afternoon to you, Ramesh. This of course is the meeting that we've been talking about for several weeks now. The anticipation leading up to the meeting between Kim Jong Un and Donald Trump has been building up. And from the latest that we've got to hear, we understand that Kim Jong Un has landed in Singapore.
Indeed, it's actually happening, Mohammed, that the two leaders are making their way to Singapore. Kim Jong Un has arrived in Singapore. Donald Trump is on his way here, so the stage is set for the 12th June morning meeting between Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un. But that's it. There's a lot of anticipation and expectation here in Singapore. Singaporeans, by and large, are very enamored of these two leaders, the US president and Kim Jong Un, North Korea's leader. And everybody wants to hear more about him, learn more about them. And in the interest of peace, they say peace is of paramount importance, and they're looking forward to some sort of positive outcome from the Kim-Trump talks here on Tuesday morning.
And also, Ramesh, there was a huge amount of security surrounding the manner in which Kim Jong Un, in fact, made his way to Singapore. Talk to us a bit about, the logistics of bringing Kim Jong Un to Singapore.
Well, Mohammed, short of a lockdown, Singapore is barricaded, is under tight security, a blanket security in place throughout the city and also the Sentosa Island, where the Capella Hotel is located, which is the venue of the Trump-Kim meeting. And you can see behind me, tourists are still flocking in to this part of the city. But if you travel anywhere close to the Shangri-La Hotel, where Trump will stay, or the St. Regis Hotel, where Kim Jong Un is staying, you'll find a tight security. No one is allowed to go anywhere near those two hotels in the heart of the city. But that said, traffic is regulated, security is very tight. There are checkpoints at every half a kilometer or 2 kilometers. They check for documents, papers. All in all, a blanket security cover here for the much anticipated summit meeting between Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un. And that perhaps is also the reason why, Mohammed, that Singapore was chosen in the first place. Remember, Singapore is seen as a new...
All right, there seems to be a bit of an issue with that connection there, but these are the visuals in terms of the logistics that has in fact been put out in place in Singapore. This is effectively a fortress that the city of Singapore has been turned into. Kim Jong Un has now arrived. We're given to understand that we are in fact getting the visuals of the cavalcade that is taking Kim Jong Un to the hotel that he will be staying put for this evening, tomorrow, till the 9 a.m. meeting on Tuesday morning, which the two leaders will in fact have. And also, this is the image that has been tweeted by Vivian Balakrishnan, the Singaporean foreign minister who was at the airport to receive Kim Jong Un. And the very logistics of, in fact, getting Kim Jong Un to, in fact, come to Singapore is in fact, pretty enormous considering the amount of security that was involved. And we are also given to understand that it is not the North Korean officials who are, in fact, involved actively, but rather the Chinese who were controlling virtually the airspace over Singapore as the flight that brought Kim Jong Un touched down at the Changi airport in Singapore. It is a Chinese chartered Boeing flight in which Kim Jong Un, in fact, flew down into Singapore. And I'm told that we have my colleague Ramesh Ramachandran back for this. Now, Ramesh, the fact of the matter is the summit is finally happening. There was a lot of anticipation. There was a lot of speculation whether the meet may even take place. But now Kim Jong Un is here. We are given to understand that Donald Trump will arrive in Singapore roughly in about another 4 to 5 hours. 6 p.m. Indian time is when we are given to understand that he will be landing in Singapore. Will there be any interaction at all between the two leaders from this evening till day after tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. when they are slated to meet officially?
Well, Mohammed has correctly mentioned, Donald Trump is expected to reach Singapore by about 9 p.m. local time. That's about 6 or 6:30 p.m. India time. But no, there are no plans of Donald Trump meeting Kim Jong Un tonight or either tomorrow. But that said, the officials have been in constant touch on the phone here in Singapore, in Washington and in Pyongyang at multiple locations, especially in Singapore here, where official delegations have begun arriving. Yesterday we saw an Air China aircraft landing here in Singapore, which was the advanced liaison team from Pyongyang who arrived here for making final preparations. That said, as you correctly mentioned, Mohammed, Air China is something to look forward to because China offered Kim Jong Un transportation from Pyongyang all the way to Singapore, and that to my mind is very significant. It only goes to show that China is very much involved in the nitty-gritty, in the minutiae of US-North Korea talks, and that China will be watching intently from the sidelines as Trump meets Kim Jong Un for the very first time in American history on the morning of Tuesday here on the Sentosa Island at the Capella Hotel.
Absolutely, indeed. You know, I think you've touched the nub of the issue here, Ramesh, when you say that China is in fact involved very actively from behind the scenes in managing this entire show, because it is China which has effectively brought Kim Jong Un to Singapore here, and it is they who were controlling the air traffic. But considering the stakes that China has, because now North Korea has agreed that they will go ahead with this plan of denuclearization, what is China's stand on it? Have we got to know anything at all as to what China has got to say about North Korea agreeing to go ahead with denuclearization here?
That's the most critical issue facing both North Korea and the US, Mohammed. The fact is that China wants peace on the Korean Peninsula. China is also the biggest benefactor of Kim Jong Un, the Kim regime in Pyongyang, and they hold a high leverage over the North Korean economy because remember, China is their biggest trading partner by far. So China has the levers to lean on North Korea going forward, and that to my mind is significant because any resolution of the issues bedeviling the Korean Peninsula will have to have Chinese participation, Chinese on board. Remember, the road to peace in the Korean Peninsula passes through Beijing.
Absolutely, indeed. That, of course, is the fact that no one can ignore that the road to peace on the Korean Peninsula does indeed pass through Beijing. But talking a bit about Donald Trump, we saw his tweet that he had put out this morning where he said that he hopes to have a fruitful and a successful negotiation in these talks with the North Korean leader. Ramesh, talk to us a bit about the frame of mind with which Donald Trump is in fact approaching these talks, because, you know, over the last couple